career is just funny. And I've never got to play that in a film. I mean, just rarely, just little tiny hints of it. But I have always said that comedy and action are very similar because you have to think on your feet and turn on a dime. I mean, that's what makes action adventure really interesting, and it's the only way to do comedy. I mean, it takes great energy. Both of them take great energy. And I don't know why people don't do this automatic translation of like, she did Terminator, she could do anything comedy. People don't make those connections, but I still hope that I get to do more comedy someday. It was funny doing Chuck, a show that I really adored doing. Once again, I had absolutely no context before I started, but it's so funny that the women had no real humor in that show. All the men got to be funny, and all the women were kicking ass. And I thought that was kind of okay in a way, because it's sort of the opposite of the way it usually goes. Usually it's, you know, the men kick ass and the girls, I don't know, they're sexy or they're funny or whatever, but you know, that show was there was a real dichotomy there in what the women and the men got to play. But I would love to do more comedy, that's for sure.
It's right there.
Sweet, thank you.
Everyone hear that?
What did I love best? No, what she said was thank you for sharing she said that really loudly, didn't she? I heard no. Her question is which character did I love playing most, or what was my, yeah. And what would I have done differently? You know what? I look back on, I mean, if I do look back, which is rare, I mean, and I think it's a good thing I don't look back, because every darn thing I look back and go, ugh, oh, why is my voice like that? Or why is my, you know, I mean, there's always something more that you wish you'd done, or something that feels so true at the moment. You know, you see it 4 years later and go, you know, because hopefully as we go through life, we just keep on growing and maturing, and there's always going to be more to add. We don't get to do that. We don't get to go back. But that said, one magic experience that I had was a film that was a cable movie. I'm sure everybody's seen it, called The Mother's Prayer. And I played a woman dying of AIDS who tries to become an adoption agency for her child. She's a single mother and there's no family to leave her son with, and she knows she's dying, and she becomes, you know, basically puts out ads, and it was a true story, based on a true story. And that was just one, I had actually turned it down, I think, but then there was a strike or something, and I mean, I was probably doing a TV series or something. I had a reason to turn it down. I was just like, I can't work 12 months out of the year and do that part in the middle and be okay. You know, I mean, we need to take breaks. But then there was some sort of actor strike, and you know, months later, I'm thinking about this part, and it hadn't been made. They hadn't gone and done it, so I called and said, okay. A very painful journey, and I, you know, it just kills me to this day, because it's really about saying goodbye to your child and placing him somewhere else. That was an amazing experience, largely because the boy that played my son was so gifted, and we just connected, you know. I mean, just aside from the visceral stuff that happens when you're playing scenes like that, where you're having to say goodbye to your child, or explain to him that you love him, but you have to send him somewhere else to live while you die. You know, I mean, moments like that where the director was this great old director who's since died, named Larry Elligan, and if you ever get to interview Ron Perlman, you should ask him his story about Larry Elligan. Because I had heard while we were doing Beauty and the Beast, I had heard about this man, Larry Elligan, because here's Ron trying to Okay, I'll tell you Ron's story because this is fun. So Ron, I mean, this is what we get as actors. Ron is doing Stoning in Old County. I'm not sure if that was the title, but he was playing an Amish or Mennonite who, again, based on a true story, who are in their buggy on their way home from somewhere, and some teenage kids, you know, hate them for no reason, you know, except for that they're different, and they throw stones at them in the buggy, and it's really kind of a non-event, except they get home and they realize that their baby has been killed by a stone. And it's about them coming to terms with the terrible prejudices and whatnot in the world. But Ron was doing the scene at the gravesite of his baby, and Larry Ellican is this like, I mean, he used to call the crew and be like, ladies, ladies, ladies. So here's Larry Ellican, this like grandmaster, you know, well into his 70s, trying to give Ron some help while Ron is doing his close-up at the gravesite of his child. And Larry, you know, directors will work in different ways. Sometimes they'll talk you through things. I love it when a director talks to me. Nothing throws my concentration. I could have the entire room full of you here and not notice if I'm in my seat. You'll find a lot of actors that are just like, I'm sorry, you're all in my eye line. Could you just like clear the room? I mean, it's like, is that acting? You can't, you know what I mean? You really have to lock tight. But here's Ron doing this very emotional moment, and Larry helping him by saying, no war, dead, baby, dirt. And so, you know, but that's terrible to try to act with it. I mean, you know, it's like, maybe it helped me so much, but you know, Ron always told this story about doing this emotional moment with dirt. Dirt. So, cut to a few years later, I suddenly realized this is Larry Ellican that I'm working with, that I did this movie with, and you know, he's totally fabulous with me. We just had a great time. But you know, you never know what you're gonna get. But that movie was kind of a wondrous thing for me because it was, I mean, Larry would come up and go, could you do the scene without crying? And I'd be like, I'm trying! You know, scenes where, you know, you're trying to convey to your child that you love him beyond all, and while he's punching his bear because that's all he can do because mommy's dying, and you know what I mean? I would be like, everything I could not to cry. Tenderness and sadness inside, and you know, they go, could you try not crying? I'm like, I'm trying. So, you know, sometimes magic happens like that. And there are a lot of really, you know, the director Mark Medoff wrote Children of a Lesser God, won the Tony for that, Children of a Lesser God, before all your times. But was a really great film, but it was basically a Broadway play. He won the Tony for that. And Mark wrote and directed a film, kind of did not disappear to obscurity, decided to live a healthy life in New Mexico and raise his family there before he started to direct films. So he's probably 70 or something, and has now that his girls are raised, has decided to, you know, try to get at acting, at directing movies. And we did a movie in New Mexico, in his home turf. He teaches at a university there. It was kind of wonderful and horrible at the same time because all of the crew were his students. And there wasn't one real pro there. And you know, truth be told, you can't work that way. You just have to have at least a script supervisor that knows what they're doing so that they can guide the show, or a prop master. We had props. They'd say, well, you can only do the scene 3 times because there are only 3 cans of sardines. And you'd be like, I mean, it's only opening can of sardines, but you know, you now, you know, it's like, okay, how hard could it be by like 5 cans of sardines or whatever? We were so restricted by time and money. Nobody had money. Nobody was paid. At one point, after about the 3rd day, when I realized the university came out to cater. And you know, we had 300-pound men out there in triple-digit heat. It was monsoon season in August in New Mexico. It was rude. And we'd get to line, and they would they would give us a little bowl of salad and say, well, you can have a thimbleful of chicken or a thimbleful of cheese to go with your salad. And I actually brought the producer into my room that night. I just never have a temper tantrum. I had one temper tantrum in my entire career. And I said, if I'm giving you $5,000 back, and if you don't cash this, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. You need to feed the crew. So, no, what's wrong with Hamilton? I was like, you take this money back. You feed the crew. Because we're going to lose some people. They can't live on a salad and a thimbleful of chicken or cheese. So, so it was a disaster in a way, but the script was one of the greatest scripts I've ever done in my life. And you never know how it's all going to go. You read the script, and I go, they want me for this? Me? Really? Me? I felt so blessed to get to go and do this. It wasn't very good. I mean, they had camera problems. They had problems on their problems. Yet, it was a great acting experience. And that movie was called Refuge. And, a lot of it is out of focus. But the writing, I mean, that's what pulls you in. And you just say, if we have any hope of making this movie as good as the script, what a blessing. And it rarely is, but you gotta hope for it and go for it sometimes. So Refuge was also really, I played a fundamentalist Christian lady who we don't know. We're outside the RV when it happens, but ends up shooting her drug-addicted, abusive husband. And she doesn't know what to do. And at that very wrong moment, this young man who's run out of gas with his motorcycle comes along. It's in the middle of nowhere. We're in an RV, no neighbors, in the middle of the desert. And his bike has run out of gas, and he happens along at the wrong time. So I take him hostage for a road trip with the corpse of my husband. Doesn't that sound like fun? And then it turns into a May-December romance. And I'm December, unfortunately. But just this wild ride that was so much fun and really didn't make a great film, but still, all I want to do is act. I would do it for $7. And I have. Quite often done it for $7.
Yeah, a thimble of cheese.
And a thimble full of cheese.
Maybe we got time for like one, maybe some more questions. So right there, Mike, glasses. Everyone hear that?
Never thought too much about it. Only got through one, which I told her. Sorry. Of course, that doesn't break your heart. Although, I'm sure if I went at it again, there's always something to discover. And changes, what you read and what you see are different things, and they don't always, produce the same impact. What might be amazing in the imagination that you read, it doesn't always translate into something that will work on film. So you have to understand that there's, there has to be some license. Although when they take a hard story and try to soften up the end or add stuff like that just to make it more palatable for people, that's hard for me. I mean, if it's something that isn't filmic, that needs to be changed so that it will be better in film, I get it. But if it's like just because the audience can't stand that it's kind of hard at the end or that the ending isn't a happy ending, then I really don't approve of that. But I never wanted to see a movie after I read a book. I never wanted to see how somebody would make that movie, because it just is always so much more alive here. And I don't mean, but it's just so much more personal when it's yours, someone else's words and your imagination. And I never, ever go and see a movie after I read the book. And I'd much rather read the book. So.
Questions on this side of the room? What was your favorite episode of Beauty and the Beast?
Wow, do you know how long ago that was? And they came out with the 25th anniversary release, something, maybe it was just the DVD release, and they interviewed us to get some of that, that screen time of the actors talking about it, special, what do they call that,
Special
special?
features.
Thank you. Special features. I've never felt so stupid in my life. Because I didn't remember anything. And every question they asked me, I'd be like, I don't know, Ron, do you remember? That was pretty much me on the special version, the special features. I'd be, I don't remember, Ron, do you remember? And Ron remembered everything, and he can just go on. And he'd actually done his homework and watched them, but I find myself really hard to watch. So, I love the one, don't know its name, where I want to come and live underground, where there's just so much grief, and we're at the symphony. What's it called? Yeah, Happy Life. Yeah, love that. Love Elvis. And there were always, in every episode there was always something fun. There was one that was kind of comedy, that felt comedic with a little gypsy kid that was just, street urchin. And that was kind of fun. But every day there was something. Every week there was something fun. I couldn't do that. He'd have to kill me first to get me to sit in that chair. But he could do it. I mean, some people are built like that, where, and sometimes it was 15 hours. Where if they really needed to do hands and stuff, it would be, 15 hours all day, in and out. To put it on and to put it off, it would be like 15 hours for me. No, you'd have to shoot me. Oh, no.
Gentleman who's had his hand up for hours.
Sorry, honey. This whole.
Saturday Night Live. What, you love comedy, you said? I'm just wondering what was that going to be?
Oh, great fun. And terrifying. Oh, completely terrifying. And, well, because they've all got their poop together. They know what each week is like, but you've never done it before. And you know what they do last? The opening monologue. That's what they write last, because they're all right for themselves all week long. And you're coming up with ideas and you're tossing stuff around and nobody's writing the opening monologue. And what do you want? You want to know how it's going to start. Just let me know how it's going to start, and then I can carry on. But because you're the guest star, that gets done last. And it was a hoot. I would do it in a minute. I just loved it and was shocked at how fast. I mean, if I hadn't been an athlete, I was like, can somebody that's not an athlete do this? Because you're running through the studio, throwing off wigs and stuff and changing your clothes while you're getting to the next set. And, it was just completely adrenaline driven and lots of fun. But I couldn't imagine, not having, if I were out of shape and having to do that. I don't know if it's like that for everybody. But, oh.
Alright, this is for our last question. Right.
He's been,
Oh,
he's like,
you first. Okay.
I walked around for one whole day. I mean, I was living in Malibu at this point, but I walked around for a whole day, loudly declaiming, beard burn from kissing Pierce Brosnan all night long. I was so happy. And Pierce is great. He's just the greatest guy. And by the end of the film, we had to be separated because we were just trouble. We would just go in the trailer and start drinking. And they'd be putting him in the car. The drunker he got, the nicer he got. We'd be like, it's all about love. So we had a lot of fun together, and that one was one hard, dark movie. In terms of just the grime, and I developed a total allergy to the ash, and basically it was like cavity wash every time I did a scene. I mean, I was so sick for 6 months of chips and newspaper print and stuff. So it became very hard to just deal with those details of the day. And there were a couple of times where I just said, you can't do this, you can't do this. I would have to look up children. I'm kind of I used to say that I wasn't a very good actress at the beginning of my career. I was just a good sport. And they would hire me in those days, and they would say, okay, can you call noise? worst. But they would say, okay, jump over that crevasse, and I'd be like, okay. And no harness, no safety equipment, dangling from the waterfall. I'd be like, okay. I mean, like, nobody protected actors in those days. Right? I was like, they only hired me because I'm such a good sport and I'm very disposable. But on Dante's Peak, they would have to create certain things and try to create a certain effect, and they like put plexiglass. They would try to move the vehicle over the lava, but the smoke is coming in, and it's like rubber that they're burning. And so they decide that they need plexiglass to keep the smoke off the actors. Now we're in a plexiglass box that's filled with smoke, rubberized smoke, and like we did one rehearsal, and it was so toxic. And I've got two little kids, they're not mine, but they're mine in the movie, and that's all I needed to know. And I was like, we cannot do this. It's the first time ever that I said, no, we cannot do this. This is dangerous for these kids. But we're gonna have to find another way to do this one shot. So, anyway,
Alright, we really gotta wrap it up. So last question for Little Han Solo and Mom.
oh yes, very much. Very much.
Did everyone hear that on this side of the room? No. How would you reiterate that?
I would say that basically that, she loves me a lot. That's all I heard. No. That the transformation between the two films, to go from the weaker Sarah Connor to the strong Sarah Connor, and the working out and whatnot. But do I believe at that level of fitness, and that the character that I created stood in my way in my future career? I'd say it did a little bit. I mean, I would never ever, I'm grateful for everything, but when I went out for Dante's Peak, Roger Donaldson interviewed me, and he goes, well, I've never played a part like this before. Like what? He goes, well, normal. Because I was all of a sudden this very fit specimen, and Sarah Connor, that I couldn't play normal, but I couldn't play like normal mayor of a small town, and that's a director telling you that I don't know if you can play this part because she's normal. You're like, buddy, normal is who we are. It's like, that's not even acting, but yeah, but it did sort of get in the way. I got offered lesbians, police officers, military officers, and that was pretty much it for a long time. I really had to kind of work to make sure that I wasn't going to stay in that place. I did everything I could externally, cut the hair off, dyed it red, dyed it blonde, whatever, to not remind people. And basically I've kept my arms covered for about 25 years now, so that nothing worse than having people come up and look at you and then their face falls in disappointment when they see that your arms aren't quite what they thought they should be. Yeah. So I've been wearing long sleeves forever, so that changed. But I have no complaints. It's very much the way it was meant to be. It's not at all what I thought I was going to do. I mean, I studied, at Strasberg in New York. I was going to be a Shakespearean actress. They earn a lot of money. No, but I really, that's where I thought my path was going to take me. I just was so in love with theater, and, never in a million years would I have thought that was, that I was going to become this action adventure actress. I'm grateful.
And we are too. Thank you for joining us.